everyone. Welcome to Neighborhood Watch's monthly meeting. I'm John Rosecrans, Chief of Police of Monte Vista. And I'm kind of excited, it's more than normal tonight, because we are trying something new. We're having a little bit of trouble filling the seats sometimes at this meeting. And while I want to encourage you to continue to come, to be here, to enjoy, to partake, have some one-on-one conversations and make us available to you, but the message is bigger than the 15 to 30 people that show up. So we're taking a note, or a little bit of a page out of the book of City Council, and we're going to put this on the YouTube channel, and we're going to get our message out no matter what, because I think it is important. We're going to talk about some of the reasons why I really think it's so important is the successes that we've had in the last 2 years with crime and the fear of crime and just the feeling of the city and where the city's going. And part of that is Neighborhood Watch. It's you. The citizens are standing up, they're calling in, they're making it known that they're taking their city back, and whatever that means for any different block or any different neighborhood area is a little different. But I think, looking around here, I kind of know where everybody lives for the most part, or at least where their business is or how they interact with the city, and I think it makes a big difference on how you choose to own your neighborhood, and I think that's a big deal. So if we can get people to spread the word that we'll be on the same YouTube channel that the council meetings are on, and we'll do a lot of advertising and some more on that. But tonight, nothing's really going to change other than we're mic'd up and we're sending out a message. I'm going to start with a year kind of in recap of 2019 and some thoughts about 2020, which is pretty exciting. It's kind of weird to say still. We've been saying the teens for so long. The 2020, I don't know what to expect from technology, but that's the other piece of what we're talking about tonight. Every day something changes, and technology can be really frustrating and it can be pretty amazing. And I think tonight's piece is just that. It's the amazing side of how technology can impact not only your lives, but how law enforcement helps and how the system can help when the need is there. So we have about an hour-long presentation. I'm not saying don't ask questions, but maybe make a note, and then the meeting can be as long as we want it to be, but I think generally we want to keep the audio and video portion to about an hour. So we're going to send a lot of stuff your way, but if you have a question, please, let's just don't get too far off track. First of all, I just kind of wanted to recap. A lot of people don't know all the things that the police department's kind of doing for events, and here they are. I want to bring it up for two reasons. One, I really am proud of the guys on how they have engaged the community outside of calls for service. I think it's very important. But for two, there's a few of these up here that are really important. They help raise funds, they help promote the city, they help promote the veterans and the holiday season. The Coffee with a Cop, again, is another one of those avenues directly to your police chief. I'm there. I think I missed 2 last year, maybe only 1, I can't remember. But I'm there at the first Wednesday of every month at Rain Brews just to have for you to have the opportunity to talk to me. If you don't have anything for me, I'll talk to you for the hour and a half that I'm there, because that's what I'm prepared to do. But generally speaking, that's why we make ourselves available. Neighborhood Watch is the same way, but we also have a message. There's safety in numbers. There's safety in how you harden yourself as a victim. There's safety in knowing your neighbor and what they're up to, and how you can be more powerful as a group instead of just a single entity. So Neighborhood Watch is very important, and that's not really the message tonight about the fundamentals of Neighborhood Watch. We might revisit those, probably a good thing to do every once in a while. But I think looking around the room, I think most everybody in this room's past that, but it might be a good message to put on the YouTube channel for sure. So again, these are just kind of some recap. Calls for service. I think this is an interesting statistics. When you look at from left to right, it's the years going down. So 2019 is the first number. Our calls for service has actually gone down. That is a positive thing. Not every piece of that I can explain. I'd like to think it's because we've reduced the need for the police. That's not always the case, because calls for service has a lot of different pieces in how we look at it. One of those specifically is traffic stops. So even though it's not a call for service, it's in that statistics. It can be an officer initiated or it can be a citizen initiated. So our total calls for service are there. So we could say, well,
are all of those numbers accurate in the sense that the citizens are asking us for less response? No, that's not always the case. Some of that's us. We're actually taking less proactive steps in some months. Other months, we're super high on the traffic stops, and we have more calls for service from the citizens. So it's all over the place, but the trend is exactly what we hope. As you reduce crime and you reduce the need for police involvement, you reduce calls for service. With that comes a need for less officers. Now, while I'm not promoting that we're exactly there yet, and we can talk about that on other nights, but the goal is to make our officers more effective, direct policing, going where the problem is, and not just driving around waiting for the next call, not just stop in any car, but try to make it, a quality stop, not just a quantity of stops. And that's our goal. So I like that statistics, but I'm not always able to completely understand it. I have dug deeper, and for the most part, I do believe that we are reducing crime, and I think that's part of it. And we'll look at the stats on that in just a minute. Our crime events would tell a different story, but I can explain this. While our crime events have actually gone up, it's because of the recognition of the officers per event. They don't just go and pick the easiest low-hanging fruit. They may add 2 or 3 charges because that's appropriate at the time. So a crime event is not our call to a location, it's the number of crimes total. 2 or 3 of those might be in one call, might be one event. So I think that's a tribute again to the knowledge and the professionalism of the officers. We make sure that we do a thorough job and a complete job, so our crime events are going down while our calls are going up, while our calls for service are going down. I hope that made sense. To me, it does. Citations. This one, again, is about quality, not quantity. I really think it's important that our summonses are important. Our citations, our tickets, however you want to look at it, they're important in the sense that I don't care about numbers. I care about impacting safety and impacting our citizens in a positive way. And if that takes a summons, that's fine with me. If it takes a warning, that's equally fine with me. So I have absolutely no real reason to believe this is a good or a bad thing, but it's in line with my philosophy. I don't think we need necessarily summons on every stop to make an impact. I get equally the number of attaboys from individuals contacted who got a ticket as who got a warning. And I think that's pretty impressive. I'll get them all the time about the professionalism of the officer on the contact. And a lot of times they'll start out, even though I got a ticket, I just wanted to say, or I'm really happy I didn't get a ticket, but I really wanted to say. And I think that's a testament to the officers and their professionalism. And then arrests are in that same category. They're going down. I don't think it's because we're hanging around the police department all the time. I think it's because we're affecting the population and we're reducing the need for the arrest. And an arrest can be anything from a custodial, take you to jail arrest, to a non-custodial, take you to detox. So those are all arrests, custodial and non-custodial. So I think that's an interesting number that, I'll be honest, it's so flat. There's really not a lot of variation there, even though it's significant between last year and this year. But then you look at the year before, the average is kind of just right in there. So I really think that's just kind of a number that I think while we take a look at it, I don't think it's really telling me a whole lot. But it's consistent, I think, generally with everything else trending in that direction. I believe that it makes sense that arrests would trend as well. Some of the things I talked to City Council about for my administration, I think it's very important, and I stole this from Gordon Graham, who's a Lexapol guru, and I don't know if that means anything to you, but he's a risk management professional, and he talks about the 5 pillars of success, and I actually have 6 up there because I think it's important too, but the first 5 are his, and it's people, policy, training, supervision, and discipline. And if you have consistency and effectiveness in all those areas, I think you start to see the difference on how your department or any organization is prepared and how they function. And the people, I think it was a big testament to us that while we were short much of the year, you see the results. We literally were down 2 officers for the most part all year long. And Our recruiting efforts were pretty strong, and our pool is very small. It's very hard to bring qualified people into any organization, whether it's Alamosa, us. The CSP is a little different because they can pull statewide, then they can assign you to a different area. So they don't, and they're even, I think, 7 or 8 short in this local area. So it's across the board a very difficult task, and yet we didn't lose but one officer and gained 2. So we actually went positive in 2019. And right now we're seeking one more, but it's a slow process. Policy, same thing. We're very close to completing our comprehensive manual that's sponsored through a national organization, Lexipol, that does best practices, and then we tweak them kind of to the local area. This hasn't been in place for a couple years. We've had pieces of it, but it's a very big deal. Training, I don't have much to say about training. We're just on board with the state requirements. Post is the organization that certifies us, our Colorado Post, and we've done everything they've asked and then some. Supervision is one of the keys, I think, to a consistent organization, and we've had the same 4 supervisors for almost 2 years. And I think that speaks volumes to what can get done and how it gets done. And then discipline. I think this is always tricky because just like when you're raising your kids, they seem to want to test the boundaries. They want to probe things. So, it's tricky. I think we've done a really good job of having policy and procedure that outlines what needs to be done, and the guys do a really good job of staying within those boundaries in a very difficult and ever-changing job. So I think those 5 pillars we're getting a grip on, and it's helping out. And our replacement schedule for duty equipment is almost complete. Cars are the exception, but we have almost every officer with a new radio. New meaning it's the modern technology. All the radios they had prior to me arriving here, well, I shouldn't say all. Only a couple were radios that weren't going to expire in their ability to work on them. They don't support them anymore. Tasers, same exact thing. And tasers are tricky because I think they know how to sell tasers. They make them kind of expire every few years, so you have to buy a new one. They do that on purpose. So tasers are tough to do, but we've done that in almost every category of the gear that you see, Josh and all the officers wearing, and they're very consistent in their look, and that was a goal of ours as well. There's no doubt that they're a Monte Vista officer and that they have all the tools to do what they need to do. So I think while that's not one of Gordon Graham's pillars, I think it's a pillar for us. And code enforcement, it's never been I've never worked for a department that had code enforcement under or integrated into law enforcement. So this is a tricky one for me, but I know in the city of Northglenn, there was a boss of the organization that was a civilian, and I don't really know their title at the time. There was a sergeant, a direct supervisor of that unit. There was 8 code officers and 2 animal control for 40,000 people. Extrapolate that to 5,000 people, and you wonder why it seems like we get nothing done. We got one guy, no supervisor, and me. That's it. That's how we get things done. And you have a culture here that really doesn't want us to get involved in that. They don't really think that government has any say in how they have their weeds, or park their cars, where they, how they do their roof. So we are up against a significant challenge. It's a struggle. And I don't know that we're doing poorly, but I know we're missing the boat in a lot of areas. And it's very difficult. And I know that because of that difficulty, it's caused, coupled with the difficulty, we have high turnover in that area. If that's a direct correlation, I don't know. But with the pay, the job, and the lack of maybe support, and I'll use that kind of globally with the fact that they're kind of out there on their own. They really don't have, kind of a unit to work with. It's got to be a very tricky job. You're kind of standing out there on a pillar. And I think part of that's on me to try to create a better position and maybe some more backup, so to speak, and more support, just like I did for all the officers. So I kind of need to build that in code. So that needs to be probably kind of maybe a 2020 into 2021 serious look. I hear it all the time. Drugs probably number 1, code number 2, and yet we have almost no effort towards code. So I think that's something to keep in mind. But snapshot. So 2019, I'm pretty happy because in the 2.5 years I've been here, we've reduced burglaries by 50%. And I'll show you the exact numbers here in a minute. We have a neighborhood watch that I don't know exactly how successful we are, but I feel like it's made a difference. You know, I don't feel like I hear, I'm afraid to call the cops because, or I don't know what I should do, or who should I call, or I feel like I'm bothering the police. No, I think we've gotten past that. That message is out there that that's what we're here for. We want to hear your complaint. We want to hear your issue. We want to hear your suggestion, and we move on. And we have Business Watch starting. We have so Neighborhood Watch is just about to have its own website. That's going to be pretty exciting. We might be able to give you a preview tonight. It'll depend on a couple things. One will be bandwidth, and the other, how much time we all take running our mouths. So we'll see how that all goes. But I think Neighborhood Watch vitalization, I put it so high because I think next to what the cops do right, the citizens have to do right. So Neighborhood Watch stepping up and citizens stepping up is part of that 50% reduction in burglaries. The other part is catching them, putting them in jail, or at least presenting a case to the district attorney that then maybe leads to jail, and maybe getting them help. Not every burglar is a cat burglar. Some of them are just addicts trying to make a living, and that's no better for you as a victim, but it does take a different approach. I still have my advisory committee. We're still working with Cooperative with a Cop. We have a full-time, and I use that loosely because while he's full-time available to the school, he also has to take some calls for service based on how busy we are. So we do have a full-time school resource officer, and that's his job. His job is the 5 schools in the district, even though one of them's in the county. But he spends probably as much, if not more, time at the middle school because we think that's kind of the ground zero for getting a hold of the youth, whether it's, you know, a hold of them, trying to get them to see things our way, or just the fact that we make ourselves available. You know, kids are such a unique animal because they're like a sponge. You know, if they get negative, they're going to reproduce the negative. If they get positive, maybe they pass along that positive. So I thought that was a very not only exciting thing for us, but I think we'll see great dividends in that. Retention, again, was good. We only lost 1 officer, and we actually gained 2. Recruitment is unbelievably difficult, and I've recruited some help on that. We're going to hopefully send out some more statewide and maybe even a little bit regional. Hey, look what the Valley has to offer. We're another community that maybe we're a breeding ground for young officers. That's okay. Maybe we get 2 to 5 years out of you, but we teach you how to do what you need to do to then move to the Springs or become a Pueblo officer. It might just be what we have to do, but we're okay with that if we could just get them in the door, or maybe they can't come right out of school, right into a police academy and get hired at one of the big departments. Maybe we can be that interim. We're working on the fleet. K-9 unit's very strong, thanks to our K-9 fund supporters. Very strong. We've had really good success there. The dogs are working their what's off, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that here in a minute. We have great grant success. I don't know the number. I didn't put it all down because it's really hard to put it into any one given year, but we're in the $80,000 to $100,000 that we've received from grant funding over the last 2 years. Some of the state stuff ends in the middle of the year, so it's kind of hard to put that in numbers for a given year, but it's been very successful. We have some building improvements going that I think add to what the officers, feel like from the city and how the city's taking care of them. We have mobile data terminals in the car. One of the 6 things that was recommended for officer safety and for 20th century policing was access in vehicles. In 2017, we had 0. Now we have 9 out of 11 cars are linked up. That's pretty good turnaround. We have a lot of CIRSA training and post-training requirements that we're meeting. We have in-house instructors for almost every discipline now, so we can train the trainer, and then they come back and train us, which I think is a good thing. I think local trainers are kind of a really invaluable resource because you have the flexibility to train your officers. You don't have to have everybody there at one day. You can train in the evening. You can train on a couple days, Plus, they know how each other are, and I think there's a real respect there that gets given to the local trainers and fulfilling that need. My goal for this year is to try to get CACP accredited, which is the Colorado Association of Chief Police accreditation. That'll come in and look at our organization and go, you know what, you're doing a pretty darn good job. We have these suggestions or not, but that's my goal for the year. And then, as you all know, we have the 1 cent sales tax was approved. Super excited about that. And then I just hit something weird. So that's going to change a lot of what we do because it's going to allow us to do a few more things. And that doesn't happen, even though it was approved in 2020, we won't see any real benefits to that till 2021, but we'll know exactly what that benefit will look like because we'll know to the penny what 2020 brought for 2021 improvements. LEAD program, long discussion possible there, but if you know and have followed what we've been doing with the law enforcement assisted diversion program, it's been leaps and bounds successful. We have addicts now that aren't committing crime, that are getting help, that are becoming productive members of society, and guess what? They didn't have to be arrested to do it necessarily, and they didn't have to spend time in jail to do it. So it's another, while I worry about the tool belt tools, this is another tool. It's one of those many tools that goes along with diversion and education and just good old human compassion to try to get people through whatever they're experiencing that is negatively impacting society. Another goal of mine is to institute an awards and recognition program. None exists currently for the officers. I wish I'd have gotten more done sooner, but I think it's really tough to come in and culturally mandate what you think a department ought to look like and how they should be rewarded. So I needed some time to get to know the department and what they expect it should be rewarded. I think you can create almost as much animosity as you can excitement about awards if it's not done right. And I think a lot of that has to do with the officers and their culture and how they are. So I wanted to be real careful about that. And then a neat side note that we don't know where this is taking us, but we have a ham radio group now that's in up and running and certified and has some certified operators that are able to actually step up in an emergency and would be able to take us completely outside of our normal police channels and allow us to communicate valley-wide. Technically, globally, but that's really not our concern. We'll be happy if we can just talk around Rio Grande County especially. So ham is a different frequency. A lot of it has to do with line of sight and radio antenna ability as opposed to the repeaters and some of the other stuff that's directly related to this global system that the state has up and the nation has up. If that for some reason went down, with a little bit of a generator power and some good old ham ingenuity and training, we could probably get a lot done. That's pretty exciting, especially when you know how the valley can be with snowstorms and bizarre stuff, fires that burn down all the power lines coming in, and those kind of things. So I won't spend much time on this, but I took a few things that I thought were important, and you see this is just the opposite of the other stats. These are increasing in year, but you see what's kind of happening to the frequency. So 62 was a high in 17, and we had 31 burglaries in 19. Pretty happy about that. Drug cases, I'm not surprised by this. I think this is the frustration from my corporal who one night says, I don't know what we're going to do about this drug problem. It's pervasive and we're not making a difference. Well, I think it's just the opposite. When you first go into, your garden, how easy is it to pick the first few nice, delicious, ripe ones? They're just right there. But as you go back, and then now you're having to look and you're digging under leaves, and it's hard to get that same number. Well, look what we've done. We've been flat, and yet it's not the same people, it's not the same arrests, and yet we're figuring it out. We're getting into we're getting into the weeds of the drug problem now, and I think that's probably really a good thing. If we can keep those numbers flat at some level, we want them to drop. But until we're all surprised that number is still up there, I'm happy that it's up there because I think we all know we still have a drug problem. The question is, like our newest council member put it, she's like, look, I know I need to lose weight and I lost this amount of pounds and I'm super happy about it. doesn't mean I'm at goal. So I still have work to be done. Theft cases, they're kind of the same thing. We had this spike in 17 that I don't know anything about. I don't understand it, but I think it was more in reporting than it was in actual cases. But again, we're pretty flat. But if you do look at the numbers, where everything has gone down, shoplifts have gone up. They're significantly up, and we would have been around 110 thefts, no less, 100, right at 100 without shoplifts. Shoplifts killed us this year, and we do have some things in place to kind of try to hopefully combat that in the short term. Crashes, they're pretty flat too. 16 was an anomaly, but I can tell you in October we had 50. When the snow came, look what happened. Gots to be careful. Mother Nature will sneak up on you. And they were almost all single car or rear end accidents. Slipped off the road and hit a pole. Slipped off the road and hit another car. Couldn't get stopped at the stoplights. Very preventable, something we can definitely work on. We'll work on education, but that's part of what, unfortunately, those 25 or so that were added at the end of the year, they got the ultimate education. They know better now. M1 holds. This one's pretty scary. So M1 is defined as, someone who basically is incapable of taking care of themselves, or they're a danger to themselves or someone else. Look at these increases in 4 years. That's not good. That's almost tripled. So that we have, the statistics say about 8 out of 10 Department of Corrections inmates have a diagnosed mental illness. There's a direct correlation in crime and mental illness, no doubt. We have both. Makes me not wonder why. I know that we have to deal with both to make a significant impact. DUI arrests, I just want you to know that, it's a problem. It's probably the most preventable crime on the planet. And here we are. We just can't seem to get past it. If you're gonna drive, don't drink. If you're gonna drink, find a way home. There's all kinds of ways home, and I would even be surprised if not everybody doesn't have somebody they could call, but they choose not to. We've actually stopped probably a third of our DUIs with a sober driver in the car, but that's not the culture. I'm driving. It's my car. I'm in charge. I'm driving. Doesn't make sense. This one's really fun because I came from the metro area where it was a ridiculous mess of stolen cars. I would contact a stolen car every shift. Every shift. We couldn't do much about it. All they had to do was run. We couldn't chase them. It's not worth it. But this was amazing how little we have. Why 2016 was so high, I have no idea. Wasn't here. Don't care. Hope it never comes back. But I can tell you right now, we're in a good spot. But don't leave your car unlocked. Don't leave your valuables. The old neighborhood watch motto. Keep it strong there, and hopefully we'll keep that number down. Yeah. Yeah, system really does a good job. We don't, everybody probably asks, well, what does it look like to recover a car? The nationwide system is linked to it, but the statewide system is one that typically gets utilized. And every time your plate gets run, it within seconds, whether that car is reported stolen or not, or if the driver has a CCW, or if the driver is wanted. So there's a lot of really powerful technology that helps us do our job. And that access in that car was huge. And now that we're 9 out of the 11 cars have that access, we could always get on the radio, but there was 2 problems with that. One, you have a dispatcher who's trying to actually dispatch as opposed to answer your every need. And 2, maybe that we have a mile and a half of town and a mile of town, give or take. That car, if you don't have that report back immediately, you turn, you go about your business, and they say, oh, hey, that was a stolen car. Oh, well, that's not very helpful right now because who knows where they are now. So that's good stuff. I put this, so last one's marijuana. It's kind of a thorn in my side. I don't really weigh in on the marijuana debate, but we spend as much money now as we did before on black market marijuana investigation now as we did before on all marijuana investigations, period. So all this money that the legislatures and everybody plan to use for good is going right back in to dealing with the problem that we created. And our stats are kind of bizarre. So these are not possession cases where you 4 years ago, you would have a little bit of marijuana in your possession and it'd be illegal. These are cases where it's still illegal. So it's illegal now. So you either have over, the legal limit, you have over 4 ounces, and these aren't even the juveniles. So these are major cases, illegal grows, pounds, not ounces. So these are the kind of cases that we're dealing with, and that's in Monte Vista. Nationwide, it's a big deal. We've talked about it before. $2,000 worth of marijuana here is $10,000 to $12,000 in New York on the East Coast. It's a really big, lucrative business that, unfortunately, now we're known as the premier producers and exporters of marijuana. I'm sure you're really happy about that. A quick look just at those same stats in a, come on, computer literate. No. Just a fun graph to say, look, generally speaking, burglaries dropping off very significantly. These are these. Drugs, generally speaking, pretty flat. Theft, without the spike, we'd be in pretty good shape. Crashes started high, kind of leveled off, and then M1 holds going up. I just thought those were the most significant ones when it came to reporting to you and council, and then the citizens of what your town looks like, and generally how things are going in the police department. So that is my part. Any questions about any of that? And I'll be happy to take more as everybody gets done with theirs. But anything quick? While Josh sets up. And again, I thank you guys a lot. I don't know if anybody in here, well, I know one in particular that is calling in issues that have led to arrest and significant crime involvement. But right now I just can't think of who all has been involved. But I know, generally speaking, the calls for service now include more than ever citizens willing to step up and say, I saw this, or I heard this, or those kind of things. Well, we have had less, but we set up a little sting, and we got hit by 10 below zero, and we couldn't run it because the batteries in our transponder would not handle that kind of cold. So while we did some extra patrol, we really were excited about our devious nature, and we thought we were really going to show some of those criminals when we followed them to their house and busted in on them with their stolen package, and the batteries died so fast we couldn't do it because they just those little devices, like leaving your cell phone in your car when it's 10 below for 5 minutes and the thing's done. It's just like, holy cow, it just shuts down. But it was a better year than last with those packages, and we know that because of the dissecting of the theft cases that we did. But generally speaking, it's still an issue, but it didn't spike like we expected during the holidays. There was only a couple areas. One person in particular got hit a couple times, and that was about it. It was pretty scattered out, but it wasn't as bad as 2018 was by far. But we will keep our goodies, and when it warms up, we're going to play that game. It just won't be probably as fun as what would have been.
All right, guys, I'm Officer Hill. I'm going to be doing a presentation on smartphone technologies and how it can work with communicating to emergency services and how emergency services can communicate back with you guys using these same technologies. There are a lot of technologies out there, but I'm only going to be going over a few of them that you can access from your phone today. One of them is going to be the Child Safe Kit. I have Courtney Edge here. She represents American Insurance Life, who goes through and provides the Child Safe Kit for free of charge. It's paid for by the International Union of Police, so it's completely free to the public. I'll also be talking about SLV's E911, emergency contacts on your phone, smartphone SOS systems, and medical ID cards. A lot of this is going to be very scenario driven. Almost every one of these situations, if not every one of these programs, is going to be introduced with a scenario where it would be used. So first up, we have Courtney, and she's going to be introducing ChildSafe, and I will let her take over for just a moment here.
Okay, while he's setting up this video, thank you guys for having me here today. American Income Life is a company that I work for, and one of the services that we provide to the community is the Child Safe Kit app. It's a very valuable app that you have on your phone. Everyone has their phones with them at all times. Traditionally, back when this first started, it was a kit that you had at home that you filled out that had your child's personal information in it. It had your height, weight, all the things that you would need if your child were abducted. But nowadays, with having smartphones and technology being the way that it is, we've created an app that you can have on your phone so you can cut down that time it takes to report your child missing, so you can get an Amber Alert a lot faster to the police. So this video that we're going to watch is going to sum up that, and then I'll have a little bit after that.
You've had that feeling. You took your eyes off your child for just a moment to answer a phone. Then you couldn't find them. Your stomach sank. Your heart nearly stopped. You began to panic. But when you turned around, there they were, running back to you, safe and sound. But what if you hadn't been so lucky? According to the FBI, acting quickly is a missing child's best chance for being found. It's a frightening reality. 93% of abducted children are killed within the first 24 hours. How do you give authorities all they need to know to find your child without losing precious time? Do you know your child's height? Do you have a current photo of your child? Can you provide fingerprints for your child? Your answer to these questions may be yes, but is this critical information in one easy-to-find location? To give your child every chance to be found as early as possible, we're giving you a no-cost Child Safe Kit for each child in your home. This is our way of serving families in the community. Our Child Safe Kit is endorsed by the International Union of Police Associations, the American Federation of School Administrators, and the American Federation of Teachers. Our Child Safe Kit is a convenient way to record comprehensive information about your child, so authorities can help find your child quickly, such as your child's name, birth date, and address, blood type, medications, and allergies, your name and contact information, physical description, including any birthmarks or other identifying features that will help authorities identify your child quicker, DNA sample. The Child Safe Kit also comes with an inking strip so you can fingerprint your child and find them quickly, and a place to attach your child's photo. We recommend updating your child's photo every 6 to 12 months. Your representative will give you a Child Safe Kit for every child in your household. We recommend that you complete the Child Safe Kit after your representative leaves today and keep it in a safe and convenient location that you can access quickly. It could literally save the life of your child.
Okay, now all that information now can be stored onto the app, so you have it readily available. The app can be shared with friends, family, relatives. It's not just for the parents, it's also for grandparents, aunts and uncles, anybody that might have the child with them at any time. If they go missing, they can get this to authorities. You can go right through the app and you can submit it to the authorities there to get the Amber Alert out. We also give you, like it said on there, a DNA sample and a fingerprint kit. It comes with police grade ink, so you actually do the fingerprints with your child on the sample kit, and then you take a picture of it and it's uploaded to the app. So that as well can be submitted to the police station, cutting that time down quite a bit. I think one of the instances they cut down the Amber Alert time to about 20 minutes. So that's fantastic when you're looking for a child to kind of cut that down. I don't know if you guys heard that statistic in there. 93% of abducted children are killed in the first 24 hours. So time is definitely of the essence with that. Anybody that's interested in doing that app, there's some sign-up forms over there, and we'll deliver the app for you at no cost. If you know any friends or family, you can direct them to the police station, or you can take some slips with you and drop those back off at the police station. Anyone have any questions on that? All right, thank you very much.
Courtney, thank you for coming. So I've gone through and played with the Child Safe Kit just to see exactly how it works. So when you use the child safe kit, there will be pictures and all of the information that was explained in the video on your phone. And at the bottom of the app, when you open it, there's a notify authorities button. When you push that button, it'll pull up a tab for an email address. So you can send that information to the investigating officer by email. When that comes in, the investigating officer can get the information needed for an Amber Alert right away. Like she said, it decreased the time of an Amber Alert by about 20 minutes. From some of the stuff that I've seen, it can be more. So when you go through from the time of the initial call to by the time everything is aired, it's between 30 minutes and an hour. If you can get that down to 30 minutes, at an hour, they're almost in Pueblo. They're almost in Santa Fe. They're almost anywhere. At a half an hour, 20 minutes, they're still in the valley. So you can go through with this tool. It'll help get that information to law enforcement much faster. Courtney will be here if anyone wants to sign up. It's something if you have grandkids or any kind of family that you want to have signed up. Like she said, we're going to have sign-up sheets at the police department, and you can either sign up there or take any of that information there. So the next one, I'm going to give you a few scenarios, okay? There is salmonella in the water supply, okay? It will make you sick. This is affecting the children and the elderly. Emergency health needs to go through and get information for a bottled water effect out to the public as quickly as possible. Another one, there's someone armed and dangerous. They barricaded themselves in a building on your block. It's really important for law enforcement to be able to get that information out to you. Another one, there's a fire raging out of control headed towards a residential district. Law enforcement has everything shut down to help fire do their job, but the fire is moving very quickly towards that residential district, and the fire department cannot stop it. E911 is one of the tools that emergency services would use to notify communities of that. Every one of those scenarios has happened in the last 10 years in the San Luis Valley. There was the salmonella outbreak in 2008. That emergency services went through and used E911 to call out to the community as part of the notification process for people to start using bottled water and not tap water. They went through and notified in Alamosa. There was a fire 2 years ago that was out of control. Started off as a controlled burn. Heavy wind picked up. It was moving faster than fire could do anything about it. It was estimated to hit a residential district in about 15 minutes. Reverse 911 would have been critical and was used. There's many cases all through the valley where E911 has been used. The important thing about it is you have to sign up for it. If you don't sign up for it, it's not going to go out. I have a cell phone with a out-of-state number. If they go through and just hit all of the cell phone numbers associated with an area, I wouldn't get that. I have to sign up for this. But this is used for fires, floods, dangerous person alerts, and public safety alerts. So all of the information that we have is going to be uploaded online. If you would like a copy of it, let me know. But where to go through and sign up, the links will be in the presentation. So the smartphone SOS system, okay? Smartphone SOS system is a pretty unique system. I was really surprised. I found out about it when my wife got an SOS alert from one of her friends in Texas. It sent a picture of her front camera, her back camera, gave a 10-second audio clip of what was going on, and the GPS coordinates of the phone. Now down there, they're able to go through and contact law enforcement with it. The valley's not set up for that, but it's still a system that can be used. You have to set up your emergency contacts, which are contacts that can be used by law enforcement or any emergency services to be able to call them without unlocking your phone. So they're set. Most phones are only set to like 3 or 4 that I know of. But when you pick up your phone, if you push the emergency call button, it'll bring up a screen for your emergency contacts so they can be called without unlocking your phone. These are the people that would be notified during an SOS message. This is an example of what one looks like. Just has a preset message of "I need help," gives the person's coordinates, the time of the message, and an audio recording. Okay? This is really for when you can't go through and call 911 really fast. Say your house gets broken into. Someone's coming at you. You don't have any way of defending yourself, but your phone's in your hand. You hit the buttons on the phone. All of a sudden, your friends have a picture of who was coming at you, where it happened. That can be extremely helpful to us in law enforcement to go through and see what was going on, to hear what was going on, to know where this happened. So on your phones, you can set that up. Look, some things that you need to know about is location services must be on. You must have emergency contact set up. And so because we don't have anything set up in the San Luis Valley with emergency services for the SOS system right now, it's important that your emergency contacts have a plan. You have some kind of plan worked out with them on who they need to contact for the situation and be able to get that information to law enforcement. Once again, in the presentation, I have a couple of links on how to go through and set it up. Two most common systems are Android and iPhone, so I have instructions on both of those on how to set that up. The last one is medical ID cards. This one is you're traveling alone and you have a food allergy, and you didn't know that the plate that you just ordered has that. You're alone, no one's going to know what's going on. Emergency services would be able to look at these these medical ID cards and know what medical conditions you have, what medication you're on, if you have any allergies to medications, name, date of birth, and blood type. Now the thing about that is it will only show what you put on there. It can be accessed from the home screen without unlocking the phone. Again, it's in some phones the same place as the emergency call button. This is an example here of what it looks like on an Android phone. It's a little hard to see, but basically it says John Doe, and these are my allergies, and in case of an emergency, please call this person. iPhone pretty much looks the same. Once again, there's the instructions on how to go through and set this stuff up. In conclusion, there's a lot of technologies out there that can help us help you, and help you help us. All of these situations are things that I have either seen in law enforcement happen or have happened very close to us here in the Valley. The other thing that's really nice about the modern technologies that are being developed, a lot of it has to keeps your personal information still personal. The only thing that you can access is what you need emergency services to see. It's important to have an emergency plan in place with your friends, family, anyone in your emergency contacts. And there's always more developing technologies to go through and help all of us communicate with each other. Emergency services with the community and back. So that's pretty much what I have on that. Does anybody have any questions on anything on what was presented tonight?
I'm going to try to fire up the website. So I know you couldn't get those instructions, but we're going to have them on the new Monte Vista Crime Watch, www.mvcrimewatch.com is our new website. And it may or may not come up here. I think we got enough bandwidth. So it's pretty cool. So we're going to have those and many other things on this site. Specifically, it'll have all the calendars, all the events. It'll have links to educational information. Business Watch will have all of our busted folders for us trying to quell our problem with shoplifting. So we're kind of making public those that have been arrested, and hopefully the local business owners can act accordingly. And then there's lots of Crime Stoppers information on there. And we also talk about Rural Watch, we talk about Neighborhood Watch, and we really wanted to make this your site so that we can interact not only with each other on this site, because there's a blogging option, but we also want to make it where we have, again, options for information, because information is power. It's what it's all about. I love these meetings because we get to chat before and we get to chat after, and we get to know each other. But really, it's about the information, how to harden yourself as a target, get to know each other, know your community, know us, and know what technology and everything else associated can do for us. So we're pretty excited about the website. It's got a lot of information on it. And we're still in the process. It's still got a couple things that we have to tweak and improve on, but it should be a really good resource. So next time you're like, when was that meeting? That's where it'll be. Talks about National Night Out already, talks about these meetings, talks about Coffee with a Cop. All that'll be on there. And if you, as a citizenry and business want, like, Ken, if you want to help us with the Business Watch page, I'd love it. Because really it's about keeping you and your constituents safe, and what makes sense for the business community. I know you guys have some business organization meetings, it sounds like, through the chamber. We're going to be talking with Jerry and trying to make that more appropriate. Same with the neighborhood block captains. Again, whatever you guys need from us, we'll hopefully we can be available and make the website available as well. Any questions about any of that? Any comments? Any thoughts? Well, I think we're going to sign off officially for this meeting, and then we can do whatever. We really appreciate your attendance, and as always, see something, say something, be smart about your plans. Try not to be so repetitive that you're predictable if possible. That's always a good thing as well. And have a great night. Thanks for coming.